Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now this is part 2, and the final part of my turbo fuel factory. Previously, we chose a location, built out the foundations, and laid out around 100 machines, complete with their logistics in order to get ready to produce turbo fuel. Now a lot of people struggle with consistent power lines and ramping up a factory to full power, but with a few fail-safes in place now in this video, and thorough explanation of how fluids work, trust me, I think people will enjoy the analogy I use a little later. This factory's generators will just switch on and maintain full power once they are on. If you ever want to check out the factory for yourself, my save file is available, and all the blueprints and accompanying files if you wanted to build it from scratch yourself. A few days after this video goes public, I'm planning on live streaming as well, doing some of the cosmetics and adding a few smaller things such as power storage and a way to export some of the byproducts that we're going to be making here. If any of this sounds interesting to you, please do consider liking the video, sharing it with like-minded gamers, and maybe becoming a channel member if you're feeling particularly generous. If it doesn't sound interesting, maybe just leave the video on anyway and just be a nice person. Yeah, that'd be nice. Alright, without further delay, let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let's check out our to-do list. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, we have already ticked off placing all the foundations, the refineries, and the assemblers. So the bulk of our machines are now in place, but we still need to add a sort of resource delivery system. So we're going to do that with trucks and roads alongside the resource extraction itself. We're then going to create a belt release system, which we'll talk about a bit later, but we've seen that before in the copper Caterium factory if you followed previous videos. But we'll discuss it. Then we're going to place in all the generators, 136 in total. Something like 700 computers are needed for that, which is why we set up the parts factory before, and I've been cooking up some computers on my own time, as well as finding some at hard drive sites, which have been a delight to kind of come across those. And then finally, a power storage / battery room, so we can have some backups if this place were to fail. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be doing trucks and roads. It wouldn't be a Darren factory if we didn't have some chaos in there. But no, don't worry. The trucks this time, there's only going to be 2. And that's basically because we have 2 various extraction sites, one there and one there for coal. And for sulfur, you can't quite see it, but one's about there and one's somewhere out there. And it just seems to me, if we're bringing in coal anyway, which fuels trucks, we can just basically set up a delivery system to automate it. You could just drag a belt on some sort of bridge, which is kind of what I was thinking of originally doing, but they are a bit further out than I'd like, so I think a truck is kind of nice to do it that way. So basically, we're going to be building a lot of roads. So we're going to start with Road Infrastructure tab, the road segment 4x4. I'm just going to place the first one somewhere here. Just make sure we're lined up. We are lined up. Alright, so that's our first one. Okay, so we're going to build a road all the way up towards basically where those power lines are. So switching back to blueprint mode, we'll put down a segment here and another one here, and then we need to go with a T segment. So a T left or right, doesn't really matter. And we'll grab this one again, and we'll just go out straight again. Now we'll need to actually go up. Right, so I'm trying to get to basically there, and I think I'm going to go up about just over halfway and then cut across to the right because it's a bit lower than that area. And we don't want to clip through the tree, although we can get pretty close to it. Alright, so I'm just going to flip back over here and see if this will work. So we want to use the 6-meter height segment is pretty much what I always use. Oh, I'm actually low on iron plates. Whoopsie. We'll just head down here. I've got a little truck on a route that goes back to my kind of base where I've got a bunch of storage containers, and I just load it up with stuff and then I hit send and it just kind of delivers stuff up to here and then I send it back. So that's been nice to have it semi-automated. Obviously I have to run down there to actually fill it with stuff, but it allows me to fill my inventory and the truck and kind of make 2 journeys in one, if that makes sense. Anyways, right, so with some of that in our inventory now, let's see. So that's actually snapping on nicely because it's the first one. But it doesn't really play ball when we want to do this. I'm not using any mods. The infinite nudge mod isn't here, so we could just turn off nudging, or sorry, turn off blueprint mode, go to default, and once we just line up and make sure our corners are correct, it's usually easy enough to get it into position. And thanks to locking the hologram as well, it's not too bad. So that looks like it's aligned, but it's not. It needs to come down just a little bit. There we go. So that's 1, 2, 3 of those. I normally do... Ooh, yeah, we're really close to the trees. I think I can forgive a little bit of that. We're not crossing any branches themselves. We'll just be brushing off against these. I'm okay with that. It's right on the edge of where I'd be okay with it. Anyways, right, so let's go blueprint mode. So that's not going to work. We'll have to do, again, just default mode and place it under. So that's what was that, 6, 12, 18, a height of 18-meter climb right there. I want to bring this all the way out here and down. Can't quite see. Is our height correct? Yeah, it is. Oh, the green line just doesn't really appear sometimes until you go right over it, but that's okay. So one there. So we want to climb up again another 3 of those. So we just did 3 here. 1, 2, and 3. We'll do another 3 on this side. Alright, so that's another 3 placed. I think what I'm going to do then here is go with a right turn. So we'll grab the right turn. We could just look straight down for this one. Even on default mode, it's pretty much lined up, just like that. And now we're going to go straight across. So we got these boulders in our way, some trees. Obviously, we're going to be felling a lot of trees, but for now, we'll just work on putting the road down. So we're just going to bring this out. I think 6 in a row, so no gap on these ones. We're a bit too close to the cliff for a gap, I think. Alright, so this is the pink forest, by the way, that we're in, I think. Pretty sure that's what it's called. And we can see a little bit of clipping through here. Now, one of the problems with some of these pink trees that we came across when we were looking at our quartz facility is that some of them cannot be destroyed, and I believe it's these ones. So we can destroy the bamboo, we can destroy the tall trees, we can cut all that stuff down, but these small, more shrub-like ones, they can't be removed. And they have collision, so trucks would bump into them and stuff like that, so we have to build kind of up and over a lot of the base height of some of those. So I'm going to go up even 1 more. And that'll probably be as high as we need to go to get to our various locations. So I'm just going to leave that one here, right? So that's 7 in total. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 from that turn. So 7 in total, and then we're going to branch it off. The coal deposit is right there, and then there's another one right over there. So we're kind of coming up in the middle of both of them. But we'll get back to that in just a moment. Let's just continue building out the roads down below next to the factory. Right, so this is where we put down the first T-junction. So this has to go out towards the sulfur. So we'll grab the standard road again. This should be a bit quicker and easier because there's no height involved on this side of things. So there's 1. We're going to do 5, I think. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we need a T. And we need standard ones again. And this is going to come out 4, or however many we need to get to it. 2. And 4. Right, so there's our sulfur deposit. Yeah, so the road is ending just pretty much right here. We'll create some sort of platform situation for that. But that's just 1 deposit. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't even mention. We have to go to 2 different deposits each. Each deposit could do 600 ore, and we actually only need 533. But because our best belt in the game right now is 480, we have to tap 2 deposits each. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's just what we have to do. But when we reach the max belt speed, we can actually cut off one of these deposits completely and use it for something else. So probably will do that actually in the future. But for now, we're going to have to use them because we need 533 per minute. Alright, so now at this T-junction, we're going to build straight out. This one's going to go down 6 until we reach alignment with the factory again. So that's 2. And I like to place the roads first before deciding which trees to cut down, because then you just know kind of what the minimum things you have to get rid of is. Alright, so just 1 more after this. Bonk. And then this can be a T-junction as well, and we're aiming the T kind of to the left, if that makes sense. Like that. Oh, man, so many roads, but blueprints are great. We're putting them down pretty quick. Getting a little tight on materials. So this is going to go in by 3. I'm just kind of guessing, but 3 for now. You'll have floor plans accompanying this to kind of help you out, but 3. This should be enough room now for a platform that extends all the way towards that factory. It's the same with the road here. Not going to build that out because I'll just put down asphalt myself. So these are going to be kind of connected, and there's a big kind of rectangle right underneath me. But there's still more to go. We're going to build all the way out to the actual other sulfur deposit now, so if we just do a quick scan for it, we'll kind of get a general idea of how far it is out that direction. So that one's 300 meters to my right, and this one is northeast 600 meters, so it's quite far. So we're going to have to build this out now 9 straight in a straight line 9 times. Oh my god, is he going to go under? Oh, he just skims it. Oh, come on, let me away with that, yeah? I think we'll be okay. I didn't actually even consider that. That's pretty cool though. You could just do a dive off the bridge and like jump straight onto him. That'd be pretty sweet. Sorry, I'm trying to get on the railing here. There we go. Yeah, that was pretty sick. I just had no idea he comes this way. That's pretty cool. Just clips the edge of it just slightly, but that's good enough. It's fine. It's fine. Come on, please. Please. All right. I'm saying this to myself, my other self. Right, so where we're aiming now is between that rock and that rock, right? There's a gap between them. So I want to be able to fit between those, and I think the way to do it will be to grab this segment, but just use a 4x1 rather than a 4x4. So just build this out by 1. So 1, and then another 1. Then we could do a T or a right turn, depending. I don't plan on going on ahead, maybe in the future, but right now we don't need to. But yeah, it might actually kind of be cool to leave it as if we'd gone on ahead. So let's just grab whatever. We'll do a T. And we need to rotate that. There we go. So a bit of maybe a little waste of resources, but I'm just going to put one segment there to kind of say, like, maybe in the future a road will go out that way, but this one now can go this way. And I'm not sure how many of these we need. It does look like he's actually, like, ducking. Oh my god, yeah, actually that's pretty good. He ducks right under it. Now I think I may have just seen him clip through one of the bits here, though, unfortunately. So maybe if I want to be a bit particular in the future, I'll build a little ramp that goes up and over or something. That's kind of annoying, though. Just something I'm going to do while I'm here is just build little, what's it called, like, supports, just to make it look like it is standing, not freely. So a road arch support blueprint is what we've got. Something's about to attack me. I placed it, leave me alone. Put down the midsection support there. Yeah, I don't know what it is. This area is quite laggy. I hope it's not just the game now. That'd suck. But it's getting too complicated or something. Oh. Gotta say though, look at this. The game looks stunning down here. I guess this kind of area was updated with update 8. I don't think I've ever been here since it's changed. I don't remember seeing this big ravine before. It looks awesome. It's like a totally different game. And I'm just building my big road network right over it, but whatever. It's kind of strange because, you know, there's like little trails and everything, like a little footpath almost just right here that takes you up to a hard drive site. Yeah, interesting. I wonder... that'd be interesting if the story actually was... I see, I'm trying to have like low expectations for 1.0, but maybe the story will have something about like finding people or something, or they go off in a certain direction. You could find them based on where they crashed. I don't know. Probably not, but it almost feels that way with the little trails that have been put in, and it leads right up to a crash. It's like, well, what's that there for? I don't know. Oh, no. Oh, we have reinforced iron plates, but they look like they're actually damaged. I guess some of the decals or whatever are bleeding over onto this model. That's funny. Right, so we've got all these trees now jutting out of the road. So an easy way to get rid of them from this height is just to put nobelisks on them, but I'm actually running low on color cartridges and stuff, so I am going to break out the chainsaw and get to work down here. I don't have any biofuel with me, so I'm just going to have to go grab some and then harvest all the trees that are kind of clipping through the road here. There's actually tons of flowers here. It's interesting, in the recent video from Coffee Stain talking about what won't be in 1.0, they say you won't need to craft color cartridges anymore. So I might have to update my liquid biofuel factory. I'll probably change the ones that turn flower petals into color cartridges into things that take power slugs and turns them into power shards. That'd probably just work out. Don't have to change any placements or anything then. Alright, there we go. Clear roads with trees either side. That's what we like to see. I don't even mind if the trees kind of come over a little bit. That's totally fine. You know, I just like to leave the road clear. This game is so pretty. Just love the vibrancy of the colors sometimes. Right, so I thought I would talk through these roads just very quickly. After the turn down here, we have 7 of these segments. The road segment 4x3 6 meter height. So the 6 meter height is kind of the important thing, right? So 7 of those in a row. And then we have a straight segment, and then we have a T-junction. So off to the left, we go into 1, 2, 3, and then a left-hand turn. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then our coal deposit is right there. So that's actually almost perfectly in alignment. We're slightly lower than the terrain there, so I'll probably just stop the road there, build a small ramp and a little platform for trucks to kind of turn around when they get the coal. Off the other direction, we then have 1, 2... see if I can speed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the left-hand turn on the very end. A little bit of radiation going through there because on the lake below me there's several of these little rock deposits, uranium deposits. Don't know if they're random or not. I don't think they are based on how they're placed, so you probably have that too, unlike the other deposits. Anyway, so we have our left-hand turn, one straight segment and then a T segment. So again, leaving this with the potential for going off that direction in the future, but for here, we have the coal deposit right there. Probably will keep the height as high as we are and just feed the coal up into this area, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's basically it for the... Well, no, it's not. That's the roads done, but we still need to do the actual trucks and their routes. So we do have to come down here and kind of build out a truck station area. So I would say this is going to be one segment. We could build another one there, and then here's the area really where it would have to become a bit more customized. Alright, so if that's where we're not starting there, but that's one area. We probably want to go out all the way to the edge. So let's grab this blueprint and shift it along so that we're in line. I'd say move over even one more. Does that look right? Yeah, that looks good to me. Alright, so we'll lock that in. That's 1, 2, 3. How are we looking? We're looking good. Looking good. Alright, that's what we got. New floor in place, and we'll need to just connect this up. It's going to be a bit lazy, and actually it won't be lazy. We'll do it properly. Let's just grab this. Zoop that into position. Zoop this into position. Right. So we'll leave it like that for now. I'll probably use half foundations to get the path right when I'm ready. But just for now, let's just go with the asphalt and bring this road in. Alright, there we go. So that's going to give us a nice smooth turn as we come in. So we have our road going straight into a new kind of room slash building that will be here. And we turn straight back out. So there's going to be like a gate there and a gate somewhere there. Something like that. Or maybe just the gate will be straight here. That would make sense, I guess. Yeah, so then we have our truck stations that are going to go here. So let's grab one right now. We just have to figure out the placement for this. So it's got to definitely move over more than that. It's got to be at least there. Maybe we could just tuck that over just one bit over so that the supports on the bottom are almost in line with the edge of the foundation itself. That seems totally fine to me. So shall we lock that in? I think we shall. So that's one. That's just going to be straight up as you come in, right in the entrance. And then we're going to leave a gap of maybe 1, 2, 3 and do the other one here. And make sure that they're lined up with each other. So the other direction, right? That's it. There we go. Good. So these are going to be set to unload, right? These are the truck deliveries that come into the factory, delivering both coal and sulfur. So that's coal, that's sulfur. Okay, I've decided. First off, let's just do Mark 3 is all we need. So that's just going to go straight in there. That's too low down. Right, so Mark 3, in you go. And you, sir, can go straight in as well. Okay. So, the idea then would be, this is going to be the same, but here. This is the one that we're going to remove eventually, but for now it can stay. And we'll deal with that in a moment. So this has to be built basically in line with each of these. Now these are all built in the center of a foundation to make life a little easier for us. So just like that. Same with this one. So just in the center of a foundation. Same with the one on the very end. Alright. So we have to build them up to like a height of 8 or something. Then I'll just get rid of the ones in the middle. Alright, so now we can get rid of the ones that aren't necessary anymore to get back those materials, and we could always put some sort of pillar support on them when we're doing our cosmetic pass in the future. Alright, and that's Mark 4 belts rolling all the way through. So that's like the main bus. We're kind of feeding these as a manifold style. Now, I'm feeding 3 of them manifold, right? So that group, and that group. But this one's just going to receive stuff separately on its own. Alright, so I just wanted to clear up some of the visual noise that was on screen. So basically, we just have two splitters, right? One is for sulfur and one is for coal. The same is true here. Now, in future, we won't need this one or this one. Instead, these belts will just connect straight over. But because we don't have a belt speed capable of 533 just yet, which is what we're going to be needing for these machines, because we only have 480, we have to kind of break them into two groups, and I'm doing it so that it's really close to each other, so that when we come back to the factory in the future and we have that belt speed, we can just go bonk, bonk, delete, and then upgrade the belts all the way down. So hopefully a little bit easier. But for now, because we have two groups, it's going to just make things a little bit more complicated in sorting them out. So what we could do is bring this all the way down to here. 1, 2. Let's make sure that's right. 1, 2. And then this one can go all the way down to the ground, I think. Alright, so the way that will work then is if this is our sulfur output, doesn't matter if it's Mark IV or not, I suppose there's no real harm to, that can just go straight up and that can go straight in, yeah? In you go. Alright, we'll get rid of that pole. The other output, going along here. Alright, so that's sulfur divided equally, and one group is going to fill way quicker than the other three, for now. But eventually, it'll just be a manifold system all the way down, so it'll be fine. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. So in the future, this line won't be needed. It'll just be this one going into there, going up, and then going all the way out. Right, so that's sulfur. The next one is obviously then coal. Now coal is just a little bit different because it's also going to feed the fuel of these trucks. So the way we'll do that is, well, we ultimately have to go this way, right? So we'll put a splitter right here. Get our Mark IV belt. And we'll just drag this out and get it to go into that fuel section. So refueling the truck that's coming in this way. And then this can just go straight down. Yeah, so, okay, cool. This actually works out. So we'll get our splitter here. Rotate it the other direction. Mark IV belt, straight in you go. Into your fuel socket. And then now we can go up and over, right? So we want to line up with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is 6 enough? We'll find out. It feels like that's not going to be enough. Probably has to go up to 8, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was going to say, that seems like a lot, but that seems to be it. Alright, so that's coal going in there, and that's the same line that's feeding off the, breaking off the, what's it called, coal. Okay. Alright, and now very simply, we just have that second output. That's going to go into our little buddy all the way down there. So we need to line this up correctly as well. So that's 1, 2. Something like that. Let's make this a Mark IV. And that's going to travel all the way down until it gets to somewhere here as well. So to keep things kind of even, I suppose we could put down a pole. Stackable pole. Maybe shift it over. Is 1 enough? Yeah. This should just link into that one, and then this can go up to the same height, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because we're already at a height of 2, I think. Alright, so that should be as complicated as logistics get for us today, I think. Apart from the belt release room, it'll probably be kind of a similar sort of complexity. But just to go over that, so we have this one doing sulfur, right? So the sulfur has 2 outputs, so equally divided, it's going to come out. The first batch rolls into here, goes in there, and it's just rolling straight into all these machines. That doesn't need to be a splitter, but it is for future-proofing, just to remind me that in the future, we can get rid of these two and just have the lines coming straight out of there, okay? So that's why it's a splitter. The second line coming out the bottom just rolls around and goes into the other group, which then does get manifolded all the way down the 3 remaining groups. So that way, we're breaking off enough, because these 3 groups together consume less than 480. So one belt of 480 should be totally fine. And then the same for this one. So this one will get backed up first, and the remaining will sort of get pushed out harder down this line, if that makes sense. For the coal is just slightly different. So coal lands into here, and then its bottom output comes out and goes straight into its fuel socket, The same then happens down to this one, and then it'll kind of go up and over and feed the first group. The second line will go out, up and over, and then feed the remaining 3 groups. So in the future, like I said, everything's just going to be done on one belt and one group, including the refueling process, although I guess you could actually separate the refueling if you really wanted to. Maybe that would be... It shouldn't matter, but it would probably be best just to do that. But yeah, so that's kind of it. Alright, so that is it for our truck deliveries. We now need to actually do the truck pickups, which I've put under resource extraction. So I would say that we have now done trucks and roads, because it's the actual truck stations here and the road infrastructure is in place. Now we have to do resource extraction, which kind of comes with the territory of placing the miners, building a little building for them, and then hooking up their local truck stations as well. Alright, so I'm up here at the first kind of coal deposit. I'm going to try and make this kind of quick, so probably skip over a lot of it in the video. You know, the save file is out there if people want to see exactly what I did. I'm just going to be building a platform, but I think it's not really the main draw of the video, doing 4 little platforms to each resource here. So just going to try to put them down. I'll quickly explain each one after they're built, and then we'll move on. Alright, so I just got done. Took about 15 minutes. I thought we'd have a quick tour of the area. So just a pretty standard small little platform here with a truck station on the left, our power tower just on the other side. Hopefully enough room for our truck to do a U-turn and get out. I think it'll be okay. Now, the power tower isn't currently hooked up to the network. We'll do that a bit later. But on the left, we have our truck station. We have the road barrier all the way around. Grip metal for the workman's area, just to distinguish it from the asphalt road. Haven't put any patterns on it yet. I might do that in the future. So yeah, we just have our truck station with one input hooked in already going downstairs. If we want to go downstairs ourselves, we can take the ladder. Obviously, we could just hop down, but it's a bit dangerous. We're kind of on the cliff edge here. We have our Mark II miner on the lower level, fully upgraded and overclocked to 300 coal per minute. If it was a Mark III miner, we'd get 600 per minute. Obviously, we'd need a Mark V belt for that. And that would actually mean that the other coal deposit wouldn't be needed. But like I said before, in order to get our 533 coal and supply the fuel to the trucks that are delivering it, I guess we do need both deposits. In fact, just to correct myself a little bit, when we build the manufacturer to do gas filters, you require some coal there. So you might be able to squeeze it with that extra 70 coal per minute out of the one deposit, but perhaps both would be needed. But for sure, 2 sulfur deposits are not needed, only 1. But 2 for now while we wait for the upgrade. Anyway, I digress. We have our pillar supports just to make the place feel like it's cohesive, being propped up by something. I still have to put more supports underneath the road, kind of like the ones we've done out there, just to make that make sense. But yeah, otherwise, feeling pretty good. Alright, so that's the platform. Like I said, took about 15 minutes, wasn't too bad at all. First iteration. I didn't try any crazy edits or different kind of styles or anything, obviously. So I'm just going to go on and do the next one now. Alright, so I've sort of accidentally hooked these up to live power, so I decided just to connect them all, but as we're driving back over to the other platform, I thought I would give you guys a little tour of how it looks. This one took me a little bit longer to make a run for concrete. It actually ran out completely in this area. So the road continues all the way to where I said it did before, but then it turns into a T-junction. So this one is the same as what we saw before, it's just it used to be straight, now it's a T-junction. Then we go into this little blueprint here, the road segment 4x1, just a 2-meter height increment. And then we're up to our platform, basically, with our truck station right there. It's already hooked up to the Mark II miner. Again, 300 coal per minute. We have now power towers on either side. That one's a bit of a temporary one, so we can obviously go off further in the distance or draw power from somewhere else. I don't really want them just floating up on cliffs. Can look a bit strange, so might move that in the future. But these two are quite close together, but I just think it kind of looks nice in this little area. So the idea is very simple. We just obviously drive up this way, pick up our material, roll around, and then make our way back out. I was trying to leave as many trees intact as I could. But that's all hooked up now, so you can see the power tower cables stretching across the road and then kind of going along the road down to the first deposit that we had a look at earlier. But I've now just kind of also moved them slightly so that they're baked into the sides of the roads with some of their pillars put in place as well. So things are just looking a little bit better now. So off now to do the sulfur. Okay, so I've just added in a few extra power towers now, bringing power along the road into the new sulfur area. So effectively just following the road as we did before, but now we run straight into that kind of rock arch thing that's in front of me. Then we just bank to the left, we hit our truck station, hopefully pick up our coal, have enough room to turn around, and then we can rejoin the road. Simple as that. Want to have a look around the area really quickly. It's much similar to the first coal deposit that we put down, insofar as that we have this sort of miner jutting out through the ground and some non-painted railing. How embarrassing. But anyway, yeah, so we have the miner kind of jutting out through the platform here. We have the truck station obviously just going downstairs, the kind of grip metal. If we want to go downstairs ourselves, we could just hop down here. We just have this kind of secondary platform down here. No lights or anything. I think it actually kind of looks cool when it's dark. We just have some pillars in there to support the platform itself. Miner's doing its thing. We have some exit points if you want to go out into the jungle or just see what's going on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We have some SAM ore here, waiting for 1.0. So that's basically it. So we're going to hop over now towards the last sulfur deposit, which we can just about see from here, which is right out over there. Alright, so the road is now complete. We have the power lines running all the way down to this platform. This one did take the longest out of all four. I've actually been doing this for quite a while now. The first one was 15 minutes, and I was like, boom, this is going swimmingly. But these ones have taken a bit longer because they're a lot more terrain is in the way, and this one is up particularly high. So we just have a platform with the truck station right at the entrance as we kind of come in here. Hit that stop, load up, and then just do our 180 and merge back out to the left-hand side. At least that's the plan. And I have a chainsaw in my hand for some reason. Right, so, yeah, and I've noticed that I'm just getting a lot of stutters and freeze frames right around the northern forest kind of area. This area on this road is particularly bad. In the turbo fuel area itself, it's totally fine. But anyways, just apologies for some disturbances to the frame rate. So what I ended up going with here was just a big old platform, right? Pretty standard with a grip metal behind it, trying to keep consistency with the other ones we've done. But then I built my stairwell tower. So a lot of these things are blueprints. They can be found in the description, right? All my blueprints are available. I'll try add the ones that have been featured in this episode back in again, just to the latest, because I've been placing the blueprints into the folder based on the episode they appear, because otherwise there's just hundreds and it's hard to know. If you just watch an episode and you want to kind of find the ones that you saw, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. Anyways, I'll just re-add them back in so you can see anything that's being placed with blueprints today you'll be able to get. So anyways, it's just a big old stairwell spiral tower with the elevator lift right in the middle, bringing up that sulfur, so just all the way down to the bottom, and we have our miner just sat there. So it's very super simple, really. Just took a little bit of land clearance and had to go fetch materials, things like that. There's also a summer sloop thing just sitting right here for good luck. We'll leave that until 1.0 again. I imagine they'll either be removed, or do something, who knows. So yep, so that's pretty much it. So overclocked out of its mind, and then we just take our stairs all the way back up, and that'll just bring us back up to the truck station. I'm going to start driving the actual routes now, and I'll try to include them as a time-lapse if it makes sense in the edit. And at least that way people can see the routes being driven. It's just one truck each, so one truck will hit both deposits and then come back, and that should be totally fine. Alright, the deliveries have been made, the routes have been set, and I've set some timers, hopefully, not really timers, but just like a little bit of time to unload. So 32 seconds to unload for both coal and sulfur at these gold nodes. So if you leave the route markers on and then you just interact with this by pressing E, you can set those times, right? So 32 seconds is what this one was set to. And their pickup times at each deposit is 16 seconds each. So my logic being, you know, double it for the unload time. And that should be good. But obviously we're totally full up right now because the factory is not powered, so we've just completely backfilled all the belts. We need to hook power up to the actual assemblers if we want to make that compact coal. But that's basically it. That's resource extraction now done. So I'm going to turn off these nodes, and we'll do the same for the other one when it gets in here. And yeah, we'll mark that off the list as resource extraction done and get moving on the belt release room. And that should be the final thing before we can actually put the generators down and power this bad boy. I just realized I've been a little premature by saying resource extraction is done. We haven't actually gotten the oil out of the ground yet, so I guess that's going to be next. I'm just going to pave the crap out of this place, create a little room, and then we can place in the machines and get working on pumping it upstairs. Alright, so upstairs I've chosen a location for the 2 pipe floor holes that have to come up. So these are the ones that are going to be feeding the fuel, right? So we have our fuel pipeline right there. So, oh, I don't have copper sheets with me. Interestingly, these don't cost copper sheets. Right, anyways, but that gives us a location to aim for. So I'll have to build part of the foundations out over this way. And I'll get the pipes ready to do those logistics too. Alright, so what you see in front of me is the bare minimum that we need to have put down foundations for in order to get our oil out of this area and send our fuel back up. So I was going to pave the entire thing, because we are underneath a big roof right now, so we might as well have a continuous building here. There's no reason not to, I guess. But for now, I've just put the minimum in place. I'm just going to wait for this autosave. Alright, there we go. I guess ultimately I don't know what would go in this big, massive, empty space, but maybe there's room for something in the future. We'll see. But let's just work with the constraints that we put on ourselves now. So one of the awkward things here... Alright, sorry. Anyway, so we're 5 meters off the ground from here. So a little bit of an awkward number, right? 5 meters is awkward because the stairs doesn't line up nicely, but we could just bring the stairs through the ground. I guess that's fine, you know? I try to avoid that as much as possible, but you know, ultimately there's not much we can do when you're working with deposits. I tried going 1 meter lower than this, and then the grass is clipping through and stuff, so it's like, whatever. It seems like we're just going to be a meter off no matter where we go. It just depends where you want that meter to be, and I guess I'm happy with it being here. Alright, so for this, what we're going to use is the pipeline stackable poles, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Every 4 foundations? Why not? Just arbitrary number, but there we go. Have 2 of these together, and then underneath them we'll have 2 like that. So the idea will be that 2 of them will be crude oil and 2 of them will be fuel. So we'll just keep this going. And we'll pop it down. It'll have to go somewhere here, so they're going to be going up to there. And going in this... Okay, yeah, so maybe here and here. That would work. That should work, I think. And we'll just grab these and pop them underneath. Now, there's 3 oil deposits, of course. And we'll just put down those extractors, actually. So I probably should have done that first. So oil extractors. So the first one's just going to go there. So that's going to be... Nope. The wrong way around. That's going to be 300 per minute, is what I was going to say. So 300 per minute there. That's 300 per minute. And this one is 600 per minute. So this one can stay off on its own in terms of its pipeline, right? The max speed we have in the current game is 600 on the pipe. And we can use 600. It'll be totally fine. So let's go with our pipeline 2, no indicator. And we're ultimately going to be lining it up with here. I'm just trying to see how best to get it to there. Oh, that's straight enough, isn't it? Yeah, and should crude oil go along the bottom? Yes, why not? Alright, so off we go. So that's our first one right there. That will just roll along until we get to somewhere around here. In fact, we can try to match them. So we'll pull out a pipeline Mark 1 no indicator here, because this one's 300. Rotate it on the spot, bring it forward to about there. Get this one to come down and be its buddy. And we'll link this right up. Bonk. Okay, so now using horizontal to vertical, I guess we can go... Probably there'll be a wall here. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, actually. This comes over... I was planning on this being a walkway, but we're running right into the machine, actually, here. Should the walkway go further out on the other side? I think probably yes, because it just seems like we're rubbing up against that. So, alright, we'll grab this foundation, move this over just a little bit. Try to keep it consistent with the height. Hopefully we don't run into any hills. Ah, that's what you don't like to see. Well, what we could do is come down to from here and just extend that out and run alongside it. That might look okay. Okay, so that means that this can go, and that can go, and that can go, and the same all the way down. Right, with walkways and stuff, we'll be able to clean it up. Right, so anyway, we have our 2 pipelines coming here. So now, just as a temporary measure, we'll just put down a wall, because there probably will be one. And then we want to put the wall holes. Do I have it? There it is, on number 0. Now, I want to line these up correctly. So, there and there, right? horizontal to vertical mode, and just goes straight in like that. Not a problem. Alright, good. So there we go. So these guys are ready to keep going and connect in. So they're just going to go all the way straight, because ultimately they're just heading out towards that area where our machines are. The other ones are going upstairs. On the way back, the fuel. Alright, so this is where here, roughly, it's going to have to become a Mark II pipe. Because when this one comes out, so obviously somewhere like right here, this is then going to be a merge. So a pipeline Mark 1, and just to get this a bit more lined up a bit earlier, let's push it to there. So pipeline Mark 1 goes into there, so this junction combines the two 300s to make another 600, and that'll move out to this direction. So now we've got two pipelines of 600 crude oil moving along the bottom, and we plan on having fuel moving along the top. That's what's happening. So to make that a reality, we also need another wall right there. And we'll go with this, 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 and this. Alright, and I believe we need Mark II on the way back. We'll do the way back afterwards, just so we don't get too confused. So it's going to have to come down and then feed into both of these areas for crude oil. So the crude oil ones we'll start with first. So again, we'll bring it over this direction. This will have to be on the inside line. 1, 2, right? Keeps us nice and straight. And we'll just bring this all the way down. So it'll be this one here. 1, 2. Horizontal to vertical does the job for us. Hopefully it'll work on this side, because it's a bit close. So we'll have to grab that support. So sometimes it works when you do it from the opposite direction. So for instance, if we had a horizontal to vertical, let's just do this as an example, just because some people might be kind of curious about how this works. If you drag out from here and down, it pulls it out of the wall, yeah, and then comes down. Whereas if I was to start from the bottom, right, let's just say we had that there. If I was to start from the bottom and then go up, it goes up against the wall and then in. So again, if you start out from the wall, it comes out from the wall and then down, which is interesting that it's changing direction, even though I've already locked it in place. But anyway, that's an interesting one. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So it does actually matter if you use horizontal to vertical mode, whether you're starting from the bottom up or the top down. It'll kind of go closest to the first hole that you made, I guess. Alright, so anyways, so that looks like it'll work just fine. So we'll bring this along. We'll put down another support in line here. Again, to try and keep things looking a bit neater. And then this needs to combine all the way into that one. So we know we're here. 1, 2. And in you go. Alright, so just to delineate these, we'll just color them kind of gray, just so we can see at a glance and know that they're not doing fuel, which happens to be orange, so that could be kind of misleading. So we'll just make sure that these are colored first. Alright, that's good enough. We'll do the trim a little bit later. But that keeps us, you know, keeps us on the up and up, knowing which one is what. So, we're going to be going in here, going up all the way up here. Now, the question is, do we... I don't think there's going to be a staircase here, but maybe there should be. This is like a little pump room. Yeah, I'm thinking having two separate lines. I was thinking you could bring two lines in together and then separate them last minute to go upstairs, but I'm just actually just going to send two straight in. I think it'll look a little bit nicer that way, but it all just depends how you feel about it, really. So we'll go there. And then this one needs to come all the way down to here. Like that. So this can go, and this can go. We're going to grab a Mark II pipe now. This is going to be doing our fuel. Remember, pipes don't have a directional flow. You can put a valve on them, or a pump on them to give them a direction, but they don't actually need it. Pipes and fluid in this game work basically just like... My example is always like if you imagine having a plastic bottle and then just filling it. That's how pipes work. So the more and more you fill it, the more the water will try to go somewhere else, right? So if you fill a plastic bottle from one end, it'll slowly fill up from the top to the bottom, not from left to right. But once it hits that max, once it can't go anywhere else, then it'll be pushed out to the side. And that's kind of how fluid works in the game. It's not kind of how, it's exactly how it works, actually. So is that good? Look like we're all right there. Just grab the Mark II variant of that. Okay, so one other question would be, is this, how high are we off the ground, and did we have the head lift to even get up here? I would hope so, but you never quite know. So if we're standing here and we're going up to that height right there, so that's 4 meters, that's another 4, and then there's the one on the ground. So we're right on the edge of the 10-meter head lift, so I think we'll be okay. Plus, this is slightly off the ground. I don't know if that's actually factored in, or does it just count the machine starting at the bottom, or does it count the fact that it's about 1 meter off the ground where the pipe starts? I guess we'll find out. But it should be fine. I think it'll be okay. I believe. If you just believe, things usually work out. I've found that to be true in life. Alright, so I believe people call that willing it into existence, actually. It's not even joking. Alright, so anyways, that should be that. We just need to hook up a couple of pumps now onto these. Well, I say that should be that. There's still more to go. We have to actually hook them up down here. Remember, these are making 400 per minute. Now, we need to get up to there. That is a bit of an awkward one, isn't it? So, in theory... No, that wouldn't work, because the pipe would be on top of itself. That works. It looks a bit weird, but it does work. I think I probably will go with that. So, I basically just moved it, what is it, 3 little nudges? 1, 2, 3. 3 out. So that's what it would do horizontal to vertical, just like that. So maybe if we go to so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would just crisscross right over it. Yeah, that's okay. And that can go straight in. Alright, and we'll just do a similar thing down with this one. Push that again. 1, 2. Send that into its buddy. Send that into there. Send that into a floor hole that's going to have to be here. So it's too close, is it? What's the problem with that? Alright, cool. So there we go. That's our orange pipes done, our fuel pipelines. Alright, so the 2 fuel pipes just go straight up into there, curving over the ones that they're underneath. Now, I need to actually place these pumps. Do I have what I need for them? Mark II pumps? I do. Nice. Alright, so to get some accuracy to both placements, I think if we just do this, they should still snap on, even though... Yeah, good. So Mark II pump, aiming the right way. We'll put it on this flat piece here, just so it's easy for everyone. It's a bit harder to put it on a vertical slice. Now, just to make sure that that's working, there's a bug in the game where, at least at the moment, if you place a pump, it breaks the segments before and after where you place the pump. So just redrawing these segments super quickly should alleviate those problems, especially when you've got a floor hole involved. So let's just do that and that. Right, so that should fix it, I think. And I'm just going to repaint those back to the orange color that they were. They're slightly different orange, basically. Alright, cool. Okay, so that should bring us up to 50. Now, if we hold control, it would actually show me the head lift and how high these pipes are going to go. But it's not showing me because it obviously goes up more than this. This is 40 meters up from... Not even from there. I think it's 40 meters up from there. So we've got well enough pumping head lift to get up to this location. We should be totally fine. So we'll go pipeline Mark II. We need a junction to line up on this spot, and we have to just duplicate what's happening on the other side down there. So a junction is going to line up here. Right, so Mark II pipeline, in you go. Then it can just become a Mark I as it's splitting. So it's going to be 300, 300. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's 200, 200 for this. This is fuel, sorry. But the max potential is 300. I'll just do the same with the other one. Alright, hopefully people can follow that. It shouldn't have been too difficult, but yeah, so our fuel pipes are being pumped at the bottom, coming all the way up, splitting then between two groups. This one is then splitting between these two groups. It's as simple as that, and they should have equal distance, so they should have the exact same travel time for fuel and everything getting in there. Okay. Not that that matters, but it's just nice to have it even. Right, so that's resource extraction now properly done. The next thing is going to be doing the belt lock room. Oh man, looking at this, I can't wait. We're just going to fill it with a sea of generators producing so much pollution, I don't want to even be able to see the sun. What are these little dragonfly things? Anyways, before we get to that, of course, we have to power on our refineries, and to do that, we need a belt release room. So what is a belt release room, and why do you need it? So, effectively, we're just going to build out a little room here, a 4x6, or a 6x4, depending on our orientation. So just 4 foundations that way, 6 foundations that way, not that big at all. So this is going to be our belt bringing compact coal along, about 133 per minute on each belt, yeah? Going into each of the 4 groups of refineries that we have. Now, in between, I took a little break, by the way, got some food, came back, so while I was waiting, machines were building up resources in the background that I need for the generators, and also I decided to hook up some of the power lines and things here. So they haven't been powered on or anything, but their first initial cables are plugged in, and then I have this kind of frame box going around them right now. Same with the assemblers as well. I don't know if that's going to be final or not, but for now it's just good just to put the power lines in place, basically. Right, anyways. So this problem is kind of an abstract one to describe. I'd love to be able to bring graphics on the screen or just get my old whiteboard and do that again, but I just sadly don't have the time. I hate saying that. It's a terrible thing to say, but I have a flight early in the morning tomorrow, so I'm rushing through the night to try and get this out before I go away for the Easter weekend, which happens to be my mom's birthday as well. So yeah, so I'm just going over to Ireland for a little bit. So anyways, I'm rushing just a bit, so I won't have time to draw on the screen for you, but just bear with me. So here's the problem. If we just take one row of refineries here, and this is true of all refineries, not just turbo fuel or anything like that, so it's also true for the ones we have downstairs. Remember, we have pipelines of 600 flowing along here. The pipe's not the problem, the refineries are. So we want to try and solve the problem with the refineries so that we can basically have a consistent power line, you know, have these all running at 100% efficiency. So each refinery has an inventory space for what it's going to be taking in and putting out. The inventory for liquids is 50. You can hold 50 fuel, water, turbo fuel, whatever it is. You can hold 50 in this particular slot. We want to fill that up completely before we actually make any turbo fuel. Now, there's different ways of doing this, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to reserve and restrict the compact coal going in there. So it won't actually begin a cycle making turbo fuel because it's only got fuel. It won't have any compact coal. And we're going to make a system so that if something goes wrong, if our power trips and we need to restart the system, we can do this without any trickery or complications. We can just flick a switch and make this happen again. Because it's easy to do it for the first time. It's like, okay, I just won't turn on the assemblers. But, you know, building in an actual switch and a system that can keep everything running is a little bit more involved. Not too bad, though. Right, anyways, why do we need to do that, right? Why do we have to turn it on or feed it one thing at a time? Like, why? Well, basically, this is the thing that's hard to kind of talk about without drawing on the screen or something. But if we just imagine that you've got a cup or a bottle of water standing tall. Let's say it's a 500 milliliter bottle of water. I've actually got one in my hand right now. That probably sounded gross. But yeah, I've got a 500 milliliter bottle of water right now. And imagine that we have... It's empty, okay? It's just empty, and we're going to fill it up to the halfway point. Yep. So now our bottle of water is halfway full. If we cut a little hole at the bottom, and it starts draining 100 milliliters per minute, and we start filling it from the top at 100 milliliters per minute, the level of that water is not going to change. It's going to stay right at the halfway mark, right? Because what we're pouring in is exactly what we're taking out at the bottom. And that's how pipes work. I mentioned earlier that pipes act like bottles of water. This is effectively just a container with no... Just forget anything you know about real-world pipes, because this is just a bottle of water sitting on its side. That's basically what it is. I mean, basically. There's no real pressure in the game, nothing like that. So here's the problem. If you're doing a manifold system where you're feeding along a pipe and you're taking off of it, let's just go around to the back to see the actual fuel line, right? So we're taking the fuel into the machines, and we have a solid line here, and we're pulling away from it. Now remember, we don't actually have directional pipes in the game. It's not a thing. We have valves that can encourage a direction, but really what it does is it just stops things flowing backwards. But on every new segment, things can roll forward and back, because it's just a bottle of water, like I keep saying. So this bottle of water sits here, and the water level is going to slosh back and forth until it reaches a point where it'll push into the next one and push down to the next one and so on and so forth. And when it hits that end cap, right, when it hits here, it starts rolling backwards, and the pressure, it's not pressure, the kind of force of the water hitting that side and pushing back starts pushing the numbers that way, and that keeps happening until it reaches full capacity. Now there is an interesting thing with pipes. They only transfer as much as they're filled. That's a bit of a weird concept, but this is why pipes act differently under a manifold system than belts. A belt will move at this speed no matter what's traveling on it, yeah? And because of that, we're able to feed every single machine at a consistent speed all the way down. That's not true of pipes. This is a 300 per second pipe, yeah? Or sorry, per minute pipe. But because we're taking little bits away from it all the time, if there's only 100 liquid in here, the flow rate will say that it's only 100 per minute. And that means it's moving at that speed as well. So it's not moving at a consistent 300. And that's because, say it with me, there is no pressure in Satisfactory. Everybody says there is, but there isn't. If there was pressure, you could maintain a consistent speed regardless of the amount of liquid that was actually flowing in the pipe. You could do that if there was an actual pressure system pump at the end. But pumps don't work like that. They don't provide a pressure and a pull. They just prevent you going backwards and give you head lift. Okay, so that's kind of fluid dynamics in this game 101. So the way we solve it, if we're, my analogy about the bottle taking liquid away is these are the things taking liquid away, yeah? This is a giant bottle of water, and these are all pulling away at it. So if we're only feeding it as much as it's pulling away, let's say we're feeding, we're sending 300 along here, but we're pulling away 300. The problem is, because there's an additional inventory space on each one, water's going to kind of flow in and out of these, well, not out of the machine directly, but it's not going to fill up to, it'll try fill this one to 50. And then when it gets to this one, suddenly our 300 per minute, some of it's after going away into here. And now the water's moving slower to get to here. And that's why this is going to fill faster first, because the pipe is moving slower with each segment on its way down. This seems like such a ridiculous way of explaining it, because I'm just saying this and I'm like, who is following this? Maybe people are, maybe people aren't. The long and short of it is, the way we prevent that is if we could fill the bottle of water completely, right? Fill all of the machines completely. Fill up that inventory. Then the pipe will be completely full as well. And will be moving at 300 per minute the entire way down. So you fill up the system completely and then you kind of start it, if that makes sense. And that way, it's like having a belt moving at its max speed. It's like having a pipe moving at its max speed because we filled it. But we can't move the pipe at max speed if it's not completely full, and that gives sputtering and little bits of issues because they all have inventory slots that are trying to fill as well as consuming. Oh, right. Anyways. Let's begin. I hope that explained it. If it didn't, I might do a video in the future that better explains it, because I'd love to actually draw on the whiteboard or something. I could so much easier explain this if I could just draw something. I find that with a lot of things. Anyway, so what we need here is awesome sinks. We're going to be sending in our compact coal into awesome sinks to be kind of, well, sunk, I guess, and taken away. So I'm just trying to think, excuse me, where we're going to line this up. So we need this reserved for our smart splitters. Yeah, and alright, something like that seems like it'll work. Gives us a bit of room to run around behind it if we need to. So let's do that. So that's 50 power storage units. So, well, I guess we'll have a look at it constructing. It looks so awesome. That's using almost every stator I have. I could probably make one more, but then I'm totally out. These are cool because they just stack on top of each other, which is nice. But, yeah, we haven't actually looked at power storage before. So, I'm a little bit of a noob when it comes to this. As far as I understand, it takes 1 hour, I think, to charge one of these. and it charges up to 100 megawatts, and then it has a slow release of 100 megawatts for an hour. So it's like, okay, it can store an hour and it can give back an hour. I think that's how it works. So we've got 50 of them. So it's 5,000 megawatts of power. And I think the charge rate is based on the excess power that you have. That's the one thing that I'm kind of questioning. It's like, I thought it takes an hour to charge, but I'm pretty sure it's a variable charge that if you have a lot of excess power, you can make it go quicker, I think. Anyways, it might be somewhat temporary sitting there, but let's just grab, I'll just put a power pole down here. We'll just extend this out just somewhere like here. And my power is all the way out in the distance. Damn it. Yeah, I should have thought this through. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to be very temporary with it just for now. I will clean this up even just momentarily. But what I was thinking is I'd like to, while I'm building out this room, before we power everything on, just see if I can get a little bit of excess juice into the batteries, just in case we have a trip. Right, so there we go. So now, I've powered down the iron factory and the quartz factory. So there's two factories that are turned off. It leaves us with about 2,000 megawatts of consumption to play around with. It says that the 5,000 megawatts is going to take 2 hours 50 to charge. That's quite a long time. But even if we store up a little bit, maybe we can draw from that if I've got any problems just when we're initially powering this place on. So that's working its way up in the background. And ideally, we'll have rows of these just next to each other. And stacked on top of each other. So that's the kind of idea with that. But one of them will be reserved for backup power, powering this place on. 5,000 megawatts should be plenty to get this place up and running. I've only got 2 myself right now, so right, we'll let it do its thing. I'll read more about that so I know more. Sorry that I don't have all the info on it, but you know, I think I vaguely understand how it works. Right, so anyways, I've got the I still forgot to get the iron plates, damn it. Right, so I'm being a bit of an asshole, but I'm gonna change the location of the awesome sink, so I might have cut that where they were initially. So initially they were lined up completely with the center of this foundation. I'm gonna move them over just slightly to the left. The reason for that is I want this belt to continue going straight, and the machine was kind of blocking it, so I don't want the machine to block it. So that's good enough for me. So we're just one moved over from where we were. And this one can now move in line with that, if that makes any difference to us. We can like nudge them in together. I'll rotate this one around. We'll leave that as is, but just push it back 2. And then this one, push it back 2 and bring it together, yeah? Or does it even need to? No, it doesn't need to. It's already aligned with the one behind it. Yeah, cool. All right, so there we go. Anyway, the point is we've got 4 together. So now we'll grab our stackable conveyor poles, which now are less obstructed if they want to just roll forward. And we're going to go to 1, 2 behind that center of the foundation. So we'll grab this, connect it to there. And this is going to have to turn and go into a smart splitter that's going to be sat here. Right, so conveyor splitter, splitter again, and then make it a smart splitter here. Get rid of those 2. So this belt now just goes straight into there. Then we grab our conveyor lift and we rotate it around. Make sure it's Mark 3, matching the speed of the belt going in. We'll access this smart splitter now and say that the center output is overflow. That's very important. Center output is overflow. The left one going into the awesome sink is Annie, or, you know, compact coal if we want to be specific, I guess. Compacted coal. Right, so we'll just copy the setting on that one. Grab that smart splitter. Go down to here now. Just trying to think, yeah, we just need to line that up with the center. Coming in from this direction, so bring it up to a height of 2. Get rid of the bottom one, yep. We'll paste that setting on there, so now again, left is compacted coal, straight is overflow. A Mark 3 belt rolling straight down into there should be totally fine. And then we grab our second buddy, bring him to there, and send him in. Alright, so that's 2 awesome sinks now, handling the outputs coming out of this belt here. Now, I actually thought about it. These belts are only carrying 133. You could probably just merge them up. Can't really see any reason why not, but just, I don't know. This is just the way I'm going to do it. But if you wanted to save the, what is it, 30 megawatts of power or 20 that comes from an awesome sink? Let's see, how much is it? 30? Yeah, it's kind of a lot. I guess if you wanted to save some of that, you could potentially merge them all into one and then just divide them all up by 4, because in theory, the belts should all be even. Right? They've all got 6 assemblers, and they're being fed manifold style. So if you brought them somewhere and then just divided it by 4, like merge them all into one, then break it into 4, that would probably not be a bad idea. But probably won't do that until I've got Mark 5 belts rather than Mark 4, because it's just not good enough yet, I guess. Anyway, autosave. Let's just get rid of this, and this. Should be fine with those stilts left there. Right, so now we need to do the same, but for these guys, for this one coming here. Alright, anyways, so we fed into that one. We haven't set the smart splitters just yet. So on the right, this is going to be compacted coal. That's going to be overflow out the center. We'll hit copy on that one. Paste on this one. Okay, so now we need to get these back to go over to their buddies. Alright, so that's as complicated as it gets. I know it looks a little bit messy, but that is as complicated as it gets. So all I've really done, we have 4 belts. You know, they're branching off, going into an awesome sink each with a smart splitter on them. That's really it. Just trying to make it look somewhat neat as that happens. So, we're almost done, but not quite. We have to just put down... Let's do a power pole Mark II, seeing as I have it. And if we just put this in the center here somewhere. We'll just connect to each one. And then I'm going to get a power switch. Again, this might be in a cosmetic pass moved somewhere. But for now, we'll just place it right here. It's totally fine. Now, I always like, me personally, to have the A go to the mains and B go to the machines. You don't have to. It works. It's bi-directional. It works both ways. But something nice about just doing it that way, I find. So I'm just going to bring this back out to the mains now. Alright, so that's hooked up to mains. So these are potentially powered on. Bonk. We'll power it on. We'll turn this on and say that these are the belt lock. So the belt lock is on. Yeah? If we were to flick this, these will power down, causing the smart splitters to back up. And we have it set so that overflow will flow out the front. So that's how that works. So by just having it on all the time, which is kind of what we want when we're first setting up a system, we want this on. What's going to happen is the compact coal is just going to roll straight into those machines, the 4 of them. When we switch that switch off, then we're sending compact coal into the refineries. And that's how it works. Right. Oh, so that's the belt lock room done. Bonk. The next thing, finally, is placing generators. So let's see how many I can cram into my inventory here. Anyways, on the right-hand side of the screen, this is what we need now. 680 computers, 1,360 heavy modular frames, 2,000 motors, 6,800 rubber. Shit, that's a lot of rubber. I didn't really anticipate that. I think I've got like 500 computers, so I'm almost there. Heavy modular frames, that seems pretty hard to get. Motors, I think I already have that. So this is part of the reason, not the entire reason, but it's part of the reason that I've done this particular factory. A lot of people wrote in the comments, hey, don't you know diluted fuel or heavy oil, diluted or whatever, is better? It's like, yes, I did mention that there are 2 better recipes than the one we're using today that could make this power plant be twice, if not 5 times, as powerful as it is. That's just not where we're at the game right now, in my opinion. I don't even have the material to build this place. And I'm not just going to sit around and wait for hours for it all to kind of churn in the background. So, that's why we're building this. But there's plenty of other oil deposits that we can tap after this. So don't worry, we'll get there. Everybody chill. I never said it was the most efficient. Everybody chill. But hey, I appreciate people telling me just in case you thought I didn't know. But yeah, I got the wiki just like you guys. Alright, got enough for the first row. I think I'll have enough for about 3 out of the 4 that we need to do. There's 8 rows in total, I should say. So probably about 6 of them I can do right now, and then otherwise it'd be a waiting game. But I don't know. We might be able to force it by overclocking some manufacturers in the background. How's this doing for power, by the way? 11% charge. That's pretty good. Alright, let's begin. So we'll do this one first. This is our markings from the previous episode of where we're going to start our build. I had said I wasn't sure if we we're going to go further back or closer to me. Oh, I tell you what, actually. We're going to start at the very end. So I'm going to follow the seam straight down from that fluid buffer. Start at the very end of this build, and that way we can work our way up, and that'll just kind of naturally choose where we're supposed to go. Oh no, I'm after dropping off my biofuel and forgot to pick it up. That's alright. Right, so we'll start with a fuel generator with junction. turn off blueprint mode. Rotate around. We want the junction to be in the center of a foundation, and it has to be on the center of the line. So all the way lined up with that fluid buffer down at the back. Question is, how far down to the end can we go and still keep those rules true? So like there, right? That's in the center. That's coming in just a little bit from the edge, which is totally fine. And we're definitely center aligned. Yeah? Do we need to go further? No, we can't go further back. We have to be aligned with that. Alright, so that's it. That is it. Now, the reason these are blueprinted at all is because they're on standby mode. So much like my long-winded discussion about the bottle of water and how you have to fill the machines, the same is sort of true for the generators themselves. However, it isn't possible to fill a generator and have it powered without it burning it, because it'll just burn it onto one power pole if it can. So we want it to be able to fill up without consuming it, right? But if we don't power it, it won't fill up at all. It just won't even take in the fluid. So what we got to do is feed it power, so connect it to a power pole, but set it to standby. So we have to click the little switch off. Thankfully, you can set it to standby in the blueprint designer, and it stays off. So the standby switch is off now. So it's saving me a little bit of time. We do still have to run to every single machine and do this though. One by one. I mean, that is tedious because there's going to be 136 of them, but it's the only way I know that I can guarantee filling them all first, and that way we'll have a very consistent power line as soon as we flick those switches. So hopefully it's worth the payoff in the end of just having that solid line, but it is a pain in the ass. It's such a shame there just isn't at least a hotkey to do it. Now the other one I have to gotta add now is the standard fuel generator. So these need to be the same distance away, so we can actually line it up with our markings, and it should be good enough. And then we know when they're lined up like this, so that's totally fine there. Alright. And then we'll just go into blueprint mode, hold control, make sure it's rotated the right way, and just spam these down basically the rest of the way. And then we'll just fill the rest of the pipes in on the way back up. Alright, so there we go. I'll obviously have to paint those, and it just needs to be a Mark 1 pipe the entire way, so at least there's that. We can get rid of this now, that was kind of temporary, but we'll just feed straight into that buffer. And I'll probably put a valve on this. I don't think I brought what I need with me up here, but a valve is going to go right there. Let's just see, possibly with the rubber. No, I'm lacking steel. But yeah, we're going to put a valve there in a moment. Alright, we've got enough for another line. So we have our fuel generator with junction again. Just going to do the exact same thing, just bring it down 17. Now make sure the blueprint will want to kind of be pushed out here, because its bounding box is a bit bigger than a bounding box of a generator. So you'll have to place it and nudge it into place if you're following along. Just make sure that the junction is in the seam of the fluid buffer, and you should be fine. Once one is down, then you just simply hold control. I've got my jetpack now again, so you just fly back and keep planting them down. Oh man. Oh, I just remembered. I'm quite low on rubber, and that's the thing I was actually most worried about, weirdly enough. Rubber and a little bit of computers, not that much. I think I can force some out with manufacturers, but I just remembered downstairs makes rubber. So maybe I could power this place on and steal some of that rubber to finish the generators that I'm missing. So maybe do half of them or something first, or as many as I can until that. Yeah, I might have to do that. Alright, there we have it. I was too short on this one. So that means in total, we are 36 short in total, which is pretty funny actually, because we need 136 in total. So I was able to build 100. But yeah, I'm going to make a run. I'm sure we can squeeze just a few more out, and I'll see how many computers I have, and then see if rubber is the only problem. That's great, because then we could just power on the refineries downstairs. But if it's computers or heavy modular frames, I'm in a bit more trouble. Take a bit longer. But I'll go do an inventory check now. Oh, I just realized I've come back down to my inventory here. Oh, I see a yellow flashing light. Don't like the look of that. Oh no. I'll have to sort that out. But yeah, I didn't realize the iron factory is actually still on. Whoops. Thought I turned it off. Good thing I came back down here. Alright, it's the moment of truth. Let's see what we've got. So heavy modular frames. What do you got for me? 447. Wow. What the hell? That's loads. That's way more than I thought. That was going to be like 100. Sweet. I guess this has been taking me quite a while, in fairness. But still, I just didn't expect it. What about computers? 118. That might be enough. No, yeah, I turned off the supercomputers to make more computers. So that seems to be working. What about high-speed connectors? None. That might be switched off as well. I feel like I switched it back on, but anyway, got an autosave. I'm just going to wait for that. Alright, autosave done. Let's move on. We have crystal oscillators, 506. That's a really healthy amount. I don't think I really need any, but we'll just take 100 just in case. What else do we have? Motors. This is usually completely full, but it's not full right now. 1711. Yeah, give me as much as we can. Pretty much as much as we... Oh, wow. Yeah, give me some more. The annoying thing with them is the stack is only 50, so you can't carry that much. That's why I had that truck kind of coming and going. What's this supposed to do? Stators. Oh, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. There's nothing left there. I just pulled from them recently to do the batteries, but I didn't check any of the other machines. I'm just going to run upstairs really quickly. Oh, yeah, actually, we could check if there's any rubber in that machine. Because if something else has been delayed... See, this place isn't fully automated. The copper Caterium factory makes quick wire and cable and stuff, but it's not always being delivered here. There's no rubber. Damn it. Damn it. You sure you're not supposed to be going off and getting it? You go off and get that rubber for me. Maybe your timer needs to be decreased, actually. 1400 seconds. You know what? Let's just, I don't know, make it 8,000 seconds. See if that works. We'll wait for it to come back. It won't take 8,000 seconds. It'll just go pick up rubber and then come back. But if it's got any, I'll just stuff it into the back of the car and then get going. Or... yeah, just do that, I guess. Right, yeah, I'm just going to head upstairs really quickly. I want to see what's going on with the... Why don't we make stators? Like, what's the problem in this place? So that's flashing yellow. Bonk. Not enough rubber. I wonder, was that truck bugged or something? The other ones are all running totally fine. What about this? Yeah, you're getting your steel. You have your... you even have quick wire. Wow. Because that comes from the copper Caterium factory. I made a batch of like 24,000 by powering it on for like 2 minutes. And that was pretty much it then. Supercomputers is paused. Is computer manufacturing still going? It's short on circuit boards. And the circuit boards are paused because there's no rubber right now. That's my slowdown in computers. But I think I might have gotten away with it. But like I said, rubber is where I'm short. So hopefully that truck can get back here soon and we can just see if it's got any on it. Alright, I'm going to do a daring robbery of this truck. Midway, halfway through its journey, we're going to pull it over, steal some rubber out of it. The factories won't know what hit it. Alright, he's on his way back. Should be here. Just coming up the hill. There we go. Dude, he's full of rubber. Disable the autopilot. We're stealing this truck. Give me that rubber. I don't know how much that is, but that should be enough. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 3 is 18 slots. 18 times 200. That's 3,600 rubber. That might be enough. How much do we need? Hey, yeah, that's enough. It's more than enough. We're good. I might actually grab some quick wire and some extra motors. Oh, the motors is in the car, actually. And the quick wire... I think I actually have enough quick wire up there. I think actually this means we're good to go. You know what? Just on you go. Let's hide those path nodes. I'll see you later. But yeah, I guess either the timer was set too long or maybe the truck bugged. Some people did say that when they loaded my save, some trucks just sit there forever and never do anything. That'd suck if that's broken. But if you just lower the timer enough and let them keep going, there's no harm in it. I just tried putting timers on to declutter the roads. There's no harm in letting them go, but yeah, that would suck if the timers are broken or something. Alright, now, rather annoyingly, these all need to be hooked up with power poles. Now, when I do the cosmetics, I'll probably make this look a bit nicer, but for now, just gonna whack a power pole right behind each one, basically, and call it a day. I'm missing cable. I'm gonna go get the cable. Oh, I haven't even done this. Actually, this reminds me. So we're going to hook these in here. We're going to pop in the valves, right? So put down a junction as a little anchor point. Grab your valve. Obviously, you're going to be aiming towards the generators. We can lock that valve just here at the beginning so that we can fill up the buffers first. It'll look a bit nicer that way. Alright, so we're almost done. I still have to hook up the power poles, but there's one last thing to do downstairs, which is hook up the outputs for these things. Remember, these guys are taking in the polymer resin that's coming out of the refineries making fuel, right? So the byproduct is polymer resin that's going to roll around into all of these refineries. So if they don't have an output, they're going to get backed up. If they get backed up, fuel gets backed up and stops working as well. So it's important that we give it an outlet. Now in the future, it's going to go into a manufacturer to be made into gas masks and some of the, or gas filters I should say. And some of the extra materials will just be stored up for use at a later date. You know, we'll hook it up to a truck station or something and bring it somewhere. But for now, because I'm running a bit short on time, we're just going to hook up an awesome sink down here and just sink it all. You know, get some points and try to keep some of it in a container or whatever. But for the most part, it's going in the bin. Alright, there we go. So all the mergers are hooked up. We just need to hook them up to the machine. So a belt that has lots of different types of material on it is called a sushi belt. Which is a super fun name. And sometimes you can use sushi belts for different things and then use programmable splitters or smart splitters to filter out certain items and things. So they can actually be useful, which is kind of cool. But for now, we might as well use it. We'll just send everything into the awesome sink and then send everything into this container. So that we just have some fabric, some rubber, some plastic, if we want. Just so we can have the option to get something out of it. But for the most part, it's just going to go in the bin until we decide to send it up to some truck stations, which are probably going to be up on that side of the place in the future. Just hook this up to the water as well, because water needs to be on to feed those refineries, so we might as well do that. That's fine. Is that it? So this is our overflow splitter. So at the left is going to be overflow. This time we're sinking overflow. Anything can go through the center. That's totally fine. And then I just have to hook these machines up to each other. Nothing is making anything more than just like 60. So a Mark 1 belt is totally fine out of all these guys. They only have material outputs, no liquid or anything, so simple enough. Hey, yeah, shout out to the power storage, the battery, 61%. That's not bad. That's all right. That'll give us some juice. 32 minutes left to go until it's completely full. Now, I do plan on adding even more of these, but for now, that should be totally fine to get us through this. We have a consumption right now of 2,500 and a capacity of 6,000. I can't remember, but like, what, 40, 50, 60, 70? We've got about 70 refineries, and a refinery operates at what? How much power? 30? That's 2,100. We should be fine. I think we'll be fine, because we've also got some assemblers, truck stations, and the water extractors, so let's round it up and say even if it was 3,000, that's okay. We can handle 3,000. We can handle about 3,500. So yeah, I think we'll be okay with no trips on this one. So the only thing left for me to do now is hook all of these up to power poles, connect them all together, and then we're going to power this bad boy on. Alright, all is quiet now in the dark, as time flies by at night. Our spider webs are in position, evenly spaced between all the generators. The last thing to do, we have to actually overclock these. So I thought I would talk through the numbers really quickly. We have 8.8888 recurring turbo fuel refineries making 18.75 turbo fuel per minute. That's 166.667 or 665. So that number divided by the consumption rate of a generator, which is 4.5 for turbo fuel, means that we can support 37.036 recurring generators, right? So 37 generators. We have 34 in a row, but we could have 37 and a little bit extra. For now, I'm just going to use the 37. I'll probably modify my document to let you know exactly what the overclock needs to be if you want to use every single drop. But just here at the beginning, I'm just going to use the 37 just to make it a little easier on myself. So what we need to do is pop in 2 overclockers into this machine. So that's going to be the equivalent of having 2. So right now we have 34. This is almost like having 35. Doing this one, it's going to be like having 36. And then down here, we'll put 1 in at 150%, and then 1 in here at 150%. And those 2 together are counted as like another machine in of themselves. So that's 37. That's what we got to do for every row. So 2 power shards and then 1, 2 and then 1, 2 and then 1, and so on and so forth in every row. So let's do that. We're all hooked up. One actually nice benefit of not using that little bit of excess we have is you could have a packager on the side that handles any overflow and just makes a little bit of packaged turbo fuel if you wanted it. But also, our power line will have a real even number to it. It won't be like a 0.7 megawatt or something, you know? It'll just be like a nice number. I think, anyway, so... okay, so that is generators now done. I can't believe it. So now we're going to start the system. The very last thing I just have to do is just make sure my power lines are all kind of hooked up to all the machines, just so that it'll be a nice seamless start when we do it. Okay, so I've just hooked up a power line here and connected to the assemblers. Totally forgot the assemblers all immediately powered on because they're receiving the compact coal. Now, actually, just looking at it, looks like we do have a problem straight away, which is these are lift Mark 1s. They need to be Mark 4. So that's going to allow the coal and the sulfur to get out properly. So let's let them do that. That's totally fine. So the first batches, first batches of compact coal should now be getting made. We can actually see green lights across the board, and that's because all the belts were backfilled initially. Alright, the belt release system is working as intended, so we have compact coal now traveling along and just heading into awesome sinks. So that's totally good. So our deliveries are now going to continue with our trucks kind of coming over, dropping off whatever they have. You can see that they're completely backed up at the moment, but it should be fine now that they can actually get out, roll out into all the various machines. So even though it's manifold, we can see that almost all the machines are rolling because they were completely backed up anyway. So the next stage is going to be hooking up the actual oil. Right, so we'll head downstairs. Oil needs to be powered on. Let's just slide down here. Ugh. So our mains power is just going to be traveling in from here until I do a nice cleanup with cosmetics or something. I'm going to use a Mark II power pole because I don't have any wire on me right now. Now, why is that not powered on? Ah, it just needs to be connected in. Bonk. Wait a second. That was so weird. I could have sworn this was connected and I just couldn't figure out why there was no power. I was like, what's going on? But it's just not connected. So we'll just hook this one up to this one, and that should be all the oil starting up now. And they're already overclocked and everything, so oil is now going to start moving. So this is quite important, I would say. So we have 300 coming out along this pipe. 600 is going to be rolling out along this pipe. They're going to be making their way down here. Right, so now the refineries are online because they're after just suddenly receiving oil. So this one isn't receiving any because it's currently switched off on the standby switch. So this is an interesting thing because the fuel generators can have their standby switch flicked off and they'll receive liquid. If I turn this on, boom, we're getting liquid. If I turn it off, boom, we're not. So fuel generators operate differently. People told me if you just flick standby, it'll work and they can machines can receive things. It's not true for every machine apparently. So I'm not calling anyone out. It's just an inconsistency in the game, right? It's like, oh yeah, fuel generators, that's fine, but for this, that won't work. So we're going to leave them on, let them do their thing. And the way we're going to back these up is eventually fuel is going to get completely backed up. Right, I'm just going to hook up the pumps now. And they should get going pretty much straight away because the pipes are flush with fuel already. Now, we're still going to get some flickering on these machines, right? They're going to be flickering yellow every now and then. And that's because we're trying to deliver 600 oil on a Mark II pipe to 10 machines consuming 60 each, right? We're consuming 600, this is 10 machines, and we're trying to provide 600. So it's never going to happen because we need to let these completely backfill. The only way we can let them completely backfill is if we fill up the machines upstairs. Now the other way you could do it is you could cut the power to the pumps, and that way that would actually fill things faster. That's kind of what was happening just now. But let's let the pumps do their thing. We'll let the fuel transfer upstairs, and we'll let every refinery up here completely fill up. We can do that because we've built a belt release room. The compact coal isn't allowed to go through yet, and because of that, these machines are just going to completely fill up with fuel. And when they get totally full, downstairs will get totally full. When they get totally full, the crude oil will then back up. When the crude oil backs up, that means everything's good to go. So it's going to take a little while. We have to wait for fuel to fill up every single row of refineries here. And it'll have that trickle-down effect, that back-trickling effect, all the way down to the crude oil until they completely fill up. So it's a bit of a process, but it is a way of doing it. One belt release room, just a few awesome sinks and a smart splitter. will be able to give us a full working 100% efficiency run on all of these refineries, which means that is 600 oil on the pipeline being transferred, no problem, on a Mark II pipeline. No tricks involved, no valves needed, nothing like that. Just simply backfilling these should get the job done. You can see our pumps doing their thing. So what's coming up on this pipe here? We should eventually be, overall getting 400 per minute. Now, we'll never see a consistent 400 until we put a valve on it, but you don't really need one. It's fine. You could have it, like, super controlled if you wanted. You could have a valve here and here that are doing 200 each. A valve somewhere here doing 400, and you would stabilize the numbers eventually. But it doesn't really matter. As long as the machines are stable, I don't really care what's happening inside the pipes. Alright, so now that we can see compacted coal making their way down into the turbo fuel refineries, we've got our first little batches of turbo fuel rolling out into our fluid buffers. So, sitting on about 100 right now. We make 166 per minute when all of the refineries are firing at full speed, which they aren't right now. Remember, we're waiting on them to get backfilled. So this has 100 coal, 100, 55, 12, and we have diminishing numbers as we go on. But as they get completely backfilled, manifold style, with compacted coal, we'll get up to that 166 per minute number. So I'm waiting for that to happen. You don't have to, but I'm going to. I want to wait for that number. Now, in the meantime, we're filling this up. We've got 2,400 coal, or storage capacity in here, and if we want to get 1,200, it's going to take about 7 minutes to do that. Then I'm going to release this valve. Again, this is all... might be a lot thrown at you at once if you're following along. You don't have to do any of this. I'm being very particular with it. But what you should do is still leave all of these machines on standby. Now, the interesting thing here is, whenever you click a machine to go into standby, you get a yellow light, not a red light. These all have red lights. They're hooked up to power, they're on standby, but for some reason, fuel generators display a red light until they at least get their fuel. So... because they don't have any fuel, and they're on standby, they're going to be red. But once they actually receive fuel, they'll turn yellow. So that's a little indication of knowing that every machine has received some fuel. But I'm actually going to go a little further than that, and wait until it gets 50 fuel each. So that could take a while, because there's 34 machines, they all have a capacity for 50, and that would be 1,700 turbo fuel. Now to make 1,700, how long would that take if we're running at full capacity? 1,700 divided by 166, it would take 10 minutes, so not long. So I'm going to wait until this fills up enough, until we know that all of these are running at 100%. Then I can release the valve, and then I know that it's going to take 10 minutes to fill all these. Now, if you don't want to do any of that math, a very simple way of doing all of this is just having the valve released from the very beginning, and once you see the buffer filling, then you know that all of these are full. Because ultimately, 300 liquid per minute is going to be trying to come out of the fluid buffer, and only 166 is coming in. So you're going to be filling it slower than what could possibly drain out and go in here. So basically, these are going to have priority to fill. And once they're all full, then the buffer will fill behind it. And that's a nice way of knowing. But I'm doing it a little bit more involved, a little bit more mathematically. Doesn't make any difference. The time and everything will still be the exact same, but I like to track it and know what's happening. So I've tried to do my best to understand fluid in this game. So what I'm waiting for is all of these yellow lights to go away on the turbo fuel refineries. And then I know it's just a simple 10-minute wait before I have to run down the line and flick all these machines on. Alright, small thing, I just spotted it now, but there was a broken connection on every single group of assemblers except the first one. So remember, these are two blueprints, and for some reason I just never hooked them up together, so they were missing a component there. So I've added that now, a little belt, and that's why we have just completely full belts rolling compacted coal into our system. So looks much better, but it will actually separate a bit out given some time. But the reason I realized something was wrong was because these three buffers had a lot less turbo fuel in them than this one. That should not be the case. So now they should catch up, basically. Well, not catch up, but they should all basically be running at the same rate now. So I just hopped downstairs to check our refineries and see how we're getting on. You know, our Mark II pipe transferring 600 oil seems all pretty good, but we do have a little bit of inefficiency here because they're actually still getting backed up with fuel from before. It's a lagged effect from what happened before. So what I'm going to do is just bin that. It's like flushing it out just once. And that should leave the machine clear to kind of keep going now. So the last 2 or 3 probably have a little bit of fuel just stuck in them. But that shouldn't happen anymore. I'll report it if it does. We'll keep an eye on this. but that should be good from here on out. These should totally be fine now. So you might have to do it just once, this first kind of time turning everything on. Looks like our other turbo fuel buffers are ready to go. Remember, there was a bit of a lag because I made a mistake with the compacted coal. But we can release the valves now and let all of these generators receive their turbo fuel. I like seeing the lights turn yellow just straight away. It's nice. Alright, everybody. It's time. I believe all of the machines are completely flush with turbo fuel. We are now increasing in the buffer, and it doesn't seem to be ever going down, which means the turbo fuel is nowhere to go, which means all of these are now full. So, rather tediously, we do have to run down them and flick them all on, but it means we're going to get a nice big power gain by the end of this. Let's begin. We'll do the first one on camera. Hear that engine roar. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is one row of generators completely satisfied. That brings us all the way up to 5,550 megawatts for just one row. So, we have 3 more to go while we wait for these ones to fill. We could just see towards the very end there, a few little red lights still, so we just have to wait. Now, one thing I'll just mention really quickly is I've kind of jumped the gun just a little bit, right? Because 2 of my refineries still aren't fully getting their compact coal yet. We're still waiting for the manifold to get all the way down here. So that one's got about 75 in it. So these 2 are still kind of trickling on the end a bit. All the others have 100. So it's making its way down here, but it takes longer and longer for the last few machines. So you could run the risk, if you just done what I've done, which is turning on all these generators a little too soon, of running out of turbo fuel. So hopefully that doesn't happen. That's why we have a buffer, right? So there's 350 in there. Is that going to run out before these 2 stay on consistently? Probably not. But that's why you just want to make sure that your manifold is up and running fully before you then turn on all your generators, because that's kind of the point of having a stable line. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Every machine is now online, and I'm not going to lie, it was super painful having to manually go in and click every machine on every single time. Every time you do it, your mouse resets to the center, which sucks. You can't even just like click, click, click as you go through them. It makes it so tedious. But damn it, do we not have a consistent power line now? 22,200 megawatts. That's the payoff. And it does feel good. Not gonna lie, it does feel good. It's been a long time coming for this. Now, I haven't actually hooked it up to mains yet, so let's just do that. We just need to grab any sort of power pole. That one, I guess. Bonk. And we can now see that our production line was right there. 6,000, 6,000. Boom. 28,200 in total. And look at that nice, consistent line we've got. Pretty good. Oh, actually, I guess that's from before. So this will be it here. So the line actually isn't consistent, but it looks fairly consistent because of how dramatic this increase has been. Obviously, we have our battery storage hooked up now. I'm going to have a lot more of those, but for now, just the one is fine. So the last thing for me to do, basically, is just check that everything is running efficiently. So I'm going to go over all the machines and just double check that everything is running as it should be. And then we'll wrap it up. So the first one should always be totally fine, 100%, not a problem. Let's roll all the way down to the very last one, or second from last. Those are the ones that tend to get full and have issues. My guess, without looking, is that they've probably filled a little bit while the turbo fuel refiners were still kind of getting up to speed. Yeah, so 33, that's not too bad. 20, that's not too bad. These are acceptable levels of backfilling. That should be totally manageable. So yeah, that's all good. And they said 100%, right? So they're running at 100%, totally good. 97% for this one. 99, so they're getting there. They'll be there in no time. It's just a matter of time. And I'm guessing the same is then true for the byproducts. If they're running at 97, then some of these surely will be running at less than 100 too. Just depends which ones, because it's all about whether or not they were getting that polymer resin. 77s, there you go. It's the one on the end of the line. Second from the last on the line for polymer resin. But it'll be getting it now, it's just a matter of receiving it from over there. I'm guessing the awesome sink is in full effect, so the overflow is just going straight into there. We filled up a container completely. This fun pattern. So what do we have? 2800 plastic, 2538 rubber, and 2074 fabric. So still getting a little bit of fabric and rubber, I would imagine. Oh no, because it's Hey, yeah. Oh, yeah, because the plastic is there. Yeah, that makes sense. It can't fill anymore because plastic can't go in, so it can't get the rubber and the fabric. But that's obviously fine. All right, cool. That's why it's a temporary solution. So that shows to me that obviously I haven't done foolproof testing. Would need to leave this on for an hour or so just to doubly make sure. But that tells me that things are running very smoothly indeed. We'll just check again the final refineries down here. So that's received 5 compacted coal and 10, so it's starting to build up only ever so slightly. I'll admit, it's slower than I even thought. What we could do to alleviate that, if you wanted to speed that process up, is overclock 1 or 2 of these assemblers, because remember, they're just receiving it from a truck station. The truck stations are backed up, they're totally fine. They've been like this forever, 4,000 and about 3,000. So the master power switch for this is just in here. Bonk. I heard noises. Alright, cool. So yeah, we'll just run outside, check a regular power pole, and just see what's going on. So there we go. So that's the difference between not having an iron factory on and having it on. About 2,000 megawatts of power. Even less. Pretty good. Really happy with that. A fairly solid looking line. It's not completely solid. I'm actually debating whether or not I need to... Oh, hello. Oh, they must have been stuck in there until I turned it back on. Yeah, they're making their deliveries. That's funny. 4,800 rotors, 4,800 reinforced iron plates. Godspeed. Godspeed. Anyways, yeah, so the only thing that isn't powered on now in this world is that. Now, I'm pretty sure it consumes something around the realm of 20,000 megawatts of power. So that would be almost everything we've just added and, you know, just consumed immediately. But the reality is we don't need to power on the entire thing just yet. We could, for fun, just to run it and see how everything works. But about half the factory's refineries just make copper ingots. And they don't go anywhere. They're unassigned. They're for a future use of some factory in the future. So those are the ones I'd probably leave off, and that would be about half the factory's worth of refineries. But everything else could stay on. That would mean that we could continue making the quick wire, the cable, the AI limiters, all that stuff. That would all be great. But there's no point just making ingots just to send to an awesome sink at the expense of our power. So that's probably what I'll end up doing with that factory, is turning half of it on. And I think we'll do all of this in a live stream. I want to do the cosmetics for the turbo fuel factory. I'm going away this weekend, so I was really rushing to get this done. And when I'm back, I'm just going to be streaming maybe a couple streams in a row, answering questions, dealing with the turbo fuel power plant. Hopefully no problems, but any maintenance it needs, we'll figure that out, and we'll do some of the cosmetics for it as well. And at the same time, we'll go into that factory and power it all on and do the cosmetics there as well. So a couple of streams are in order just to tie up some loose ends, basically, before we move on to the next big project, which is going to be trains and the next space elevator phase. So look forward to that. Please be excited. All right, that's going to have to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, all of the information that you need for this factory can be found in the description, whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. All for free, blueprints and all, save file and everything. I am running really low on time, so if it's not there immediately at this upload, check in just a couple of days, and it should be there. All right, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.